Imagine for a second you are incredibly wealthy, like save $1 billion every single day of your life wealthy. Would that absolute mountain of cash be enough to buy the most expensive thing ever? Well, welcome to this explainer, because that is exactly what we're going to find out.
Okay, let's dive right in. We are going on a seriously escalating journey through the absolute most valuable things in existence. We're going to scale all the way up to the very limits of physical value. But to really understand the extremes of cost, we kind of have to start with a baseline you are already very familiar with, your own body.
Section 1. The value of you. Breaking down the human cost.
So chemically speaking, you're pretty much exactly the same as a pig, just, slightly less tasty. If we were to boil down the human body to its absolute most basic chemical components, you're actually surprisingly cheap. The raw ingredients needed to make you, they cost only about $152,000. But since you're already fully assembled and walking around, the government officially values your life at $14.2 million. Honestly, though, they're kind of lowballing you. Because if someone hypothetically took you apart and harvested all your organs, the sum of those parts could fetch up to $44 million on the market. So yeah, you're pretty expensive. But to find the most expensive thing ever, we have to look way, way higher.
Section 2. Art and ultimate luxury. The price of prestige and perfection.
We're stepping into the world of ultimate luxury now, starting with human-made art. Back in 1503 over in Italy, a rich silk merchant asked Leonardo da Vinci to paint a portrait of his wife. Da Vinci agreed, but he never actually completely finished it. He just ended up selling it to the King of France right before he died. It bounced around the bedrooms of powerful men for a while until it landed in a museum where, frankly, nobody really cared about it. That is, until it got stolen, miraculously recovered, and then taken on a massive PR campaign. Today, that 30-inch plank of wood smeared with colored oil, the Mona Lisa, is officially valued at a staggering $1 billion. It basically became famous for all the wrong reasons, but it absolutely cemented itself as a priceless cultural artifact.
But nature's greatest work of art easily beats humanity's. This $2 billion valuation belongs to the Cullinan diamond. Picture this, it's 1905. Sir Thomas Major Cullinan owns a mine in Africa. His mine manager is just going for a random stroll one day and spots something shining in the dirt wall. It turned out to be the biggest diamond ever found. Completely colorless, zero imperfections. It is literally the most chemically perfect rock ever produced by our planet. And honestly, the craziest part, after they found this incredible $2 billion luxury item, they just cut it up and mailed it in a standard, literal cardboard postal box. No joke.
Section 3. Land and megamansions. From frontiers to palaces.
So rarity creates incredible value, right? But what about the very foundation of wealth? Land. Land is valued strictly by its potential, and that can be wildly unpredictable. Back in 1803, the US approached Napoleon offering $10 million for a small piece of French land. Napoleon basically countered with, how about $15 million for the whole territory? It doubled the size of the United States for just 4 cents an acre. It's widely considered the greatest land purchase in history. Now compare that to today. In a modern financial district, a single plot of land containing nothing but a parking lot recently sold for $3 billion. Seriously, how could a slab of concrete for cars cost more than a fifth of the United States did? Well, because the Louisiana Purchase was a massive gamble on an uncharted frontier. That parking lot sits right in the center of one of the most valuable financial districts on Earth, where the government artificially restricts the supply of land. It all comes down to guaranteed supply and demand.
But the houses we actually put on top of that land, they get even crazier. While some finance guys drop $240 million on high-altitude hollow brick apartments in New York that they leave half empty, the richest man in India went a totally different route. That massive number, $4.6 billion, is the estimated value of Antilia, the most expensive private residence in the world. It features a 168-car garage, 3 helipads, an actual indoor snow room, and it requires a staff of 600 servants just to maintain it. Oh, and get this, it was built right on top of a former orphanage.
Still, believe it or not, that is not the most expensive house in the world. That title belongs to Buckingham Palace, valued at an estimated £4.9 billion, which is over $6 billion US. That's mostly based on its historical significance and incredible prime location. What is really amazing here is that back in 1761, King George III bought it for just $21,000. It was essentially a little shack meant to house his wife. Fast forward through hundreds of years of endless renovations and millions in state funding, and it is now a sprawling 775-room palace. Section 4. Trillion-dollar megaprojects, creation and destruction.
Okay, to find something more valuable than a palace, we have to officially graduate from billions to trillions. This brings us to mega projects. We're talking about the most impressive and sometimes the absolute most disastrous large-scale events in human history. Just notice the massive difference in scale here. The U.S. interstate highway system is the most expensive traditional megaproject in history, costing an inflation-adjusted $634 billion. Compare that to The Line, Saudi Arabia's highly speculative 110-mile-long city made entirely of glass mirrors in the desert. It was originally slated for 2030 at $500 billion, but estimates now push it out to the year 2080 with a mind-boggling price tag of $8.8 trillion. But honestly, both of these completely pale in comparison to the unfathomable $25 trillion military cost of World War II.
You might be wondering, why did the highway system actually work, while other projects just spiral completely out of control? Well, it's pretty simple. The highway project had a clear problem, a clear plan, and a very straightforward result. Because of that laser focus, for every single dollar spent, it returned $6 in economic output. It was a guaranteed win.
But if we want to look at the greatest masterpiece ever actually built by humans, we have to look up. About 45 Mount Everests above us, to be exact. The International Space Station is the most expensive single object ever built. Think about it this way. Legendary megaprojects like the pyramids represent what one civilization can do. The ISS represents what every civilization working together can do. Hundreds of thousands of experts worldwide manufactured complex parts that had to fit together flawlessly, and they had to do it in a deadly, empty void that would kill a human in just 90 seconds.
But unfortunately, it is far, far more costly when the world comes apart. World War II is the most expensive conflict in human history. The military spending alone was $25 trillion in today's dollars. Literally every major power devoted the majority of their economy strictly to destruction. 70 million people died, most of them innocent civilians. The true global cost of that level of destruction? It's entirely incalculable.
Section 5. The most expensive particle, reaching the limit of physical value.
So, we've looked at human lives, priceless art, vast continents, floating space stations, and global wars. But the absolute most expensive thing ever, it isn't a megastructure at all. It's an incredibly unusual substance called antimatter. In antimatter, every single particle has an antiparticle with the exact opposite charge. When they touch, they completely annihilate each other and release a phenomenal amount of energy. To give you an idea of the raw power here, a single gram of antimatter could release more energy than 3 Hiroshima atomic bombs. It could easily be the most efficient energy source humanity has ever discovered.
So how do we actually get it? Well, strangely enough, an atom in a banana decays and produces a single particle of antimatter roughly every 75 minutes. But doing the math reveals a pretty huge problem. To harvest just 1 single gram naturally, you would need 1 banana for every human that has ever existed on Earth, and then you'd have to sit and wait 97 times the current age of the universe. And even if you did all of that, it still wouldn't work, because these natural particles disappear in exactly 125 picoseconds. That is 1/1000th of a blink of an eye. Poof, gone. The only real way to make a meaningful amount is by firing tiny particles at almost the speed of light into a metal rod and catching the resulting debris in a perfect vacuum. Right now, there's only one facility on Earth that does this, and over its entire existence, it has produced less than 10 billionths of a gram of antimatter. If we converted all of that hard-earned antimatter into energy right now, it would only be enough to power a single standard light bulb for about 4 hours.
Because of the immense difficulty, the massive infrastructure, and the sheer energy required to produce it, NASA estimates that a single gram of antimatter costs a mind-bending $62.5 trillion. That right there is the ultimate price tag for a physical object. Section 6. The ultimate price tag. Scaling the cosmos.
But let's take a step back for a second. If we ever actually managed to synthesize a full gram of antimatter, the most expensive thing wouldn't be the substance itself. It would be whatever country or entity actually owned it. When we look at the true macro scale, the United States as a whole is already worth an estimated $180 trillion. Zoom out a little further, and the entire Earth is valued at roughly $5 quadrillion. Look out into space, and there are just stray asteroids floating around out there holding quintillions of dollars worth of pure gold and platinum. And the sun at the center of our solar system, it is just a massive ball of burning gas worth an estimated $30 nonillion. We've scaled from the chemistry of our own human bodies all the way up to a $62 trillion particle, only to realize that when you look up at the stars, the scale of value literally never stops growing. The universe is absolutely filled with an infinite, unfathomable amount of wealth.
But when you really stop and think about it for a minute, didn't we get all of it for free?